Okay, so welcome to what is it, second to last day of the program. So this week again is all about breath work and how that can influence our physiology, and then that in turn how that affects our stress level from being able to focus and just being able to relax, kind of both sides of the spectrum there. So for today, I wanted to start with kind of the opposite side of the kind of health and stress sort of continuum. So to explain a little bit further, we've been doing that box breathing, which is all about getting into a state of calm, relaxation, still focused. For today, I want to experiment and show not necessarily getting very calm, but intentionally getting your physiology into a state of readiness, of alertness, still using our breath to do that. So to demo, it looks like this. So it's just the opposite of these long exhales, as I've been describing. The long exhale is what gets us into this parasympathetic mode. So instead, by shortening the exhale, so looking like this, we're intentionally bringing about a little bit of stress, and kind of the rebound effect is we're going to be more focused for both this meditation session to come, but something that you can use in your workday. So we're going to experiment with this. By all means, if you don't want to participate in this one, that's totally fine. But the effects are going to be like a little bit of lightheadedness is totally common. Maybe a little bit of tingling, also very common. That's just the effects of this hyperoxygenating our blood by doing this sort of breathing practice. So we're going to do 20 breaths, and I'll tell you when the last one happens. It's going to look like this: in through the nose, short exhale through the mouth. So it's like this, just a demo. So you'll start to feel a little bit of tingling, maybe a little bit of increase in temperature, totally normal. We're going to go 2 rounds of that, and then we're going to get into the session. So here we go. Follow along with me. You can keep your eyes open or closed, whatever works for you. Remember, a little bit of stress is totally intentional here. Here we go, 20 breaths. There's 10. Sigh out the last one and breathe normally here. So maybe feeling a little bit of tingling, a little bit of lightheadedness, a little bit of change in temperature, all normal here. Just going to go in some deep exhales before going into round 2. Okay, here we go. Here's round 2 of 2, in through the nose, short through the mouth. Trying to really get into that belly breathing. Noticing that my shoulders are moving a little bit, which is normal. Try to really focus in the belly. Here we go, 20 breaths. There's 10. Sigh it out. Let's go into some deep, long exhales here. Still might feel a little kind of lightheadedness, little tingling, completely expected and normal. So continuing with these deep exhales, kind of getting back into a normal breathing pattern. So just to recap before we get into the formal meditation session, this is about inducing a little bit of stress, which is going to increase this cortisol we've heard of, this adrenaline, some other neurochemicals that are all about increasing and achieving focus, alertness. It's also similar to exercise. Exercise is quite literally a stressor, right? And we adapt to it by kind of continuing to progress what we're able to do from the previous session. And similar here, by doing this sort of practice, we're really quite literally increasing our ability to be resilient to stress. So our body doesn't really know the difference from a stressor in our work or relationships and the stress that we just induced now. What it boils down to is it knows cortisol, it knows adrenaline, norepinephrine, epinephrine, these other neurochemicals. So if we can start to intentionally do this just a little bit at a time, 2 minutes here, we're quite literally being more resilient for our other stressors in our life. So just a little recap of some just foundational science of how that works. Okay, so let's go into whatever position we would like to do for the meditation. So I've encouraged lying on the bed, couch, the floor. This is all about achieving some relaxation here. Turn off my camera as well. So again, just to give an overview, I'm just going to guide you through a very short 20-minute body scan, just directing you towards different parts of the body. Not needing to put any effort or feel anything in particular in these body parts. Just noticing what's there. Sometimes there'll be a lack of sensation or more sensation in other parts of the body. And then again, just noticing when we become lost in thought, which is part of this, coming back to the body. Let's start at the top of the body. Start to notice the shape of our head. Feel the shape of the head and the sense of contact it has with the circulating air around you. Just continuing to breathe normally, whatever that means to you. Let's tune in to the forehead, the right side, the left side. To notice the eyebrows, left eyebrow, right eyebrow. Feeling the nose, the tip of the nose, left nostril, right nostril. Feeling both nostrils at once. Tuning into the mouth, the upper lip, and the lower lip. Knowing the upper row of teeth, bottom row of teeth. Feeling the tip of the tongue to the pit of the throat. Feeling our chin, the left cheek, right cheek. Now tuning into the sounds in your environment. Your left ear listening. Right ear listening. Tuning into both ears listening. And adopting this practice of letting go, giving up some control. And see what happens. See if you can notice sounds in your environment without trying to. In the same way, you don't need to try to hear my voice, it just happens. Observing, receiving the sounds in our environment. Both ears listening. Notice right at the onset, if you're striving or straining to hear more closely. This might manifest in some tension in the forehead, perhaps. Think about dropping back, almost behind the head. Letting go of effort, both ears listening. Let's transition now into the opposite of what we just did at the beginning. Go into a series of box breathing, which is all through the nose, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. See if you can really tune into the sensation at the tip of the nose. Inhale and exhale for 3 rounds. Starting now. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Final round, tuning into the sensation at the nose. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and breathe normally. So as we begin to now go into the upper and lower body, tuning into the sensations there. Just a gentle reminder, noticing where our mind is each given moment. Is it tuning into the body? Are we lost in thinking, planning about work, analyzing our experience here? Noticing and then bringing it back to the body. So let's tune into the upper body from both sides at once, starting at the shoulders, biceps, triceps, feeling the elbows, forearms, front, back, both wrists, feeling our palms, back to the hands, each finger, our thumbs, pointer fingers, middle fingers, ring fingers, pinky fingers. Feeling the tips of all of your fingers on both hands. Feeling the tips of all of your fingers on both hands. To notice the entirety of both hands, both forearms, both biceps, triceps, both elbows, shoulders. Now just feeling the weight, the entirety of both arms. Noticing it like a constellation of energy, of sensation. Just like we did with listening to sounds. See if you can drop back. Just let the sensation in the arms come to you without you looking for it. Continuing to breathe and out. As we notice the entirety of both arms, start to adopt somewhat of a breathing practice here. A simple deep inhale and a long exhale as if you were sucking through a small straw with pursed lips. Long exhale through the mouth. And as you do so, think about sinking in to the surface your back is in contact with. Into the nose, through pursed lips, long exhale. Sinking in the surface your back is in contact with. Into the nose. Pursed lips, long exhale. Continuing a few more repetitions on your own. Now returning to normal breathing. Tune in now to the lower body, sides at once. Starting with our hips, both quads, hamstrings, both knees, front, the back, shins, calves, feeling our ankles, heels, bottom of both feet, top of both feet, feeling our big toes, second toes, third toes, fourth toe, fifth toe. Feeling the very tips of each toe, both sides. The energy, the pulsing, tingling at the very tips, all your toes, both feet. Thinking about breathing in the tips of the toes. Breathe in the tips of the toes. Just notice how our mind wants to take over. Kind of going back and forth between the sensation at the toes, coming back in to the head as if it feels that way. Noticing how that occurs, trying to reside for longer each repetition in the body, tips of the toes. Then becoming aware, we feel this strain, this cognitive effort, even if it's very subtle, trying to pay attention to the tips of the toes. Just a question to consider: what if this was easy? How would it feel? To the tips of the toes. Starting to attune to the total body here, feeling both feet, both sides, both lower legs, upper legs, both sides of the pelvic region, our torso, front side, back side, feeling both arms, feeling our head and face, feeling the entirety of our body. Feeling the entirety of our body, without looking for any sensation or body part in particular. Last few minutes here, maybe thinking about breathing in an inhale at the top, at the head, breathing out with an exhale through the body, through the tips of the toes. In at the head, through the body, ending at the tips of the toes. Letting that energy and attention travel back up the same way it came down. Pendulum of attention happening automatically, organically. Slowly start to add in some gentle movement by first touching each finger to the thumb one at a time, very delicately, gently. We go all of the fingers at once. Same thing with the toes. Ready, coming into a seated position, opening the eyes. And there you have it. So just a recap of the session and potentially something you could do right now since we just finished. After these body scan meditations, sometimes you can feel a little sleepy. And so this would be a good opportunity to do, again, just 2 rounds of that 20 breaths, that short exhale, that energizing breath, if you will, to get back to the work demands that lie ahead of us for the day. So something to consider. There's another tool in the toolkit to have at your disposal. But again, thank you all for coming. And I hope to see you back here for the last day tomorrow. Any feedback, questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.